outscored Toprak by that margin. That was back in Assen, and it's going to take that level of drama again, frankly, for Jonathan Rea to be able to make it 7 in a row.
Yeah, Assen, of course, the race where Toprak was taken out by his fellow Yamaha rider Garrett Gerloff in race 2, and that was why he gave up so many points in Assen. But certainly it's going to take something similar. It's going to take a lot of bad luck for Toprak this weekend. He hasn't had it so far this weekend, but he has had it at different times this year. I think back to Portimao when that front fender had an issue and he crashed. He's also had a technical issue in Catalonia as well. So there have been retirements for Toprak, but out on track he's been peerless all the way through this season.
Thinking back to Assen, it was also a weekend where Jonathan Rea was on absolute top of his game. 3 wins out of 3. That's all Rea can do to keep things under control. Toprak's got to go out there and score the points he needs to confirm the title, but Jonathan Rea needs to take 3 wins to put as much pressure on his direct title rival as is possible. These are slow motion images of Razgatlioglu, your current series leader and very much a man on form. And if you look at the form guide from recent rounds, Jonathan Rea has only had 1 victory in the last 3. That's Jerez, Portimao and San Juan. And in that same period, Toprak Razgatlioglu has had 5 wins. I think that's a fair reflection of what we've seen of late.
Yeah, it has been. And certainly the pressure's on Rea to be able to see if he's able to get himself to the front. And what's going to be interesting is he's going to have to come through quite a few other riders as well, because this man, Scott Redding, he's been fast this morning. Looks comfortable out there on the track on that Ducati, and we've seen it at times this season when Redding's been fast in the early free practice sessions. He has tended to bring that form through to the rest of the weekend.
Redding, the spoiler. The most he can do in the championship is move from 3rd to 2nd. He's too far back to challenge for the title itself, but if he gets between Rea and Razgatlioglu, depending of course on the order, it could either help Rea to narrow the gap or help Toprak to seal the title. Redding won't be too worried about that. He'll simply be thinking about adding to his own win tally in what is his final weekend now with Ducati.
Yeah, certainly for Scott Redding, he'll move on to the BMW next season, and a very different challenge for him, considering he's been a title contender on the Ducati for the last couple of years. Now it's all about trying to get himself finished strong on the Ducati and then move on to that new project.
Yes, I think Redding fairly humble and fairly honest about his expectations for the early part at least of his forthcoming BMW career, and I don't think he was sort of dodging the words when he said that I think he knows to some extent that these could be his last chances to really be an initial front runner. It could be a while before that BMW gets right to the front.
Yeah, what we've seen from BMW this year is that they've made progress, but Ducati, Kawasaki and Yamaha just have that little bit more consistency to always be at the front of the field, and that's what makes it a big challenge to be able to hit the front in World SBK.
And we see Alex Lowe's confirmation here that he will be unfit to take part in this Superpole session. Big incident for him in free practice 3 this morning. And what a shame for Alex Lowe's, because he's had good form, he's had good speed when we've been able to see it in Barcelona. You add that to the pre-season crash back in February, testing onboard flat track machinery, the crash in the Navarra test at that high-speed turn 1, which was one of the sort of viral videos of the season, the crash in Barcelona. So he had surgery between rounds to try and be fully fit for this weekend, and it couldn't have gone much worse for him.
Yeah, he's had feet, shoulders, wrist, and now that collarbone as well. So it's been a really tough season for Lowe's. He'll be happy to see the back of 2021.
I think knees and toes were the only ones missing from that list, weren't they, Steve? Garrett Gerloff, the man of the moment, I suppose. He's been in good form over the course of the free practice sessions.
If you think back to Assen and Mazzano, 2 times when you needed to make sure you were able to get in with a banker lap at the start of the session, he had issues in those crashes in both sessions. This session here is going to be critical to go out there and get a good lap in at the start, because there are those spots of rain.
15-minute session. We're about to get underway with Superpole for the first time here at the Mandalika International Circuit. And this is not expected to be an easy track to pass on. The track was dirty yesterday, although it's cleaned up significantly. And as we've been saying, the times have gradually improved right the way through to free practice 3 this morning. It has done so on one fairly narrow line. The heaviest braking zone is into the tricky penultimate turn, where we expect it's going to be hard to make a pass. And the longest straight is only 507 metres. Plus, the different manufacturers have all looked very evenly matched over the course of free practice. All in all, this is a very important Superpole session.
Yeah, absolutely critical Superpole session. It's only a 1 minute 33 second lap around here. It's been a track that's been really close all the way through this weekend. A tenth of a second makes a big difference, so the Super Pole session becomes really critical, and that's where it's important to go out there and get your fast time in straight from the start of the session.
And this is where Jonathan Rea loses out on the benefit of being able to work together with Alex Lowe's. Toprak Razgatlioglu and Andrea Locatelli out on the circuit together. Jonathan Rea directly stalking the two of them.
Yeah, and so
that he has got the pace to at least run close to
the second season syndrome really becomes a big challenge for them as well. Live up to that expectation and kick on from it. That's going to be
Garrett Gerloff immediately after we've mentioned Axel Bassani. It's because those two are scrapping it out for the top independent rider in the 2021 World Championship. Gerloff 14 points ahead of Bassani coming into the final 3 races of the campaign. Jonathan Rea has swapped his steed to make his way in towards the area at which they're going to receive these Super Pole awards. Jonathan Rea just denied, started so strongly at the start of this campaign with that run of consecutive pole positions that at the time you thought that's never going to end. But Toprak Razgatlioglu
this season, Toprak finding that pace over a single lap. The weaknesses that he had coming into this season, he's been able to eradicate them from his game. He's been the complete package all the way through this year, and now over a single lap as well, he's been able to have that edge. And certainly the early season, that's where Rea did have his advantage. You can see there for Toprak, he's very relaxed heading into Parc Ferme there and the opening race of the weekend. He's got the opportunity to win the championship in the opening race of the weekend, and certainly he's going to start as the firm favourite for race 1. It's going to be interesting to see what Scott Redding can do. If he can get between Razgatlioglu and Rea, that would be game, set and match.
Toprak Razgatlioglu then starts from pole position the weekend that he could become world champion for the first time. The only rider into the 1:32. So you'd think that kind of pace at the beginning of this weekend, you wouldn't have believed it. The track gradually improving. So too is the main man, Razgatlioglu. Jonathan Rea, 0.3 of a second down in the end. And I thought after the first sector of Toprak's lap, well, it was going to be a lot closer than that. Redding at 3rd fastest. He's statistically been the 2nd best qualifier in the SBK paddock in 2021, at least on average, and that's an 8th front row start in the 13 rounds for Scott Redding. He rounds out row 1 then. 2nd row of the grid, Garrett Gerloff and Andrea Locatelli, proving that Yamaha have got the pace. They've got their package immediately dialed in around this circuit. It's known to be one of the most adaptable anyway, so a new circuit working well as far as Yamaha are concerned. And Tom Sykes just nicks a place on the 2nd row of the grid. We know he's a good qualifier, and once again able to out-qualify Michael van der Mark, who is down in 9th position. That's 8-2 in favour of Tom Sykes for 2021. But van der Mark tends to move forward in races, and Sykes, with all due respect, tends to go in the other direction. Row number 3 then, Axel Bassani, Alvaro Bautista and Michael van der Mark, and a season's best for Tati Mercado, who rounds out your top 10. Well, here they are, the big two, Razgatlioglu and Rea. Just as it is in the championship standings, this weekend so far, it's advantage Toprak.
Yeah, this is going to be a track though where it's all about track position during the races. Doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of overtaking opportunities. Turn 1's your key overtaking chance. You can make moves into turn 10. Yesterday, Jonathan Rea said if you're making moves into 10, you mightn't be respecting your rival to the fullest. That's certainly where you're going to expect to see some moves from Rea during the course of the races, because he's going to know he has to get in front of Razgatlioglu.
Yet another pole position for Toprak Razgatlioglu, the 4th of his Superbike World Championship career.
Toprak, 3rd pole position this year, and in the final round of the season, how are you feeling going into race 1?
We are feeling is very good. We are ready to race, and good qualifying for me. And again, I start 1st position, and I hope we are win this race, because I coming here for fight the win. But we will see, and we are ready, and we will see in the race. Thank you very much.
Best of luck, Toprak.
As Anthony said, 3 pole positions in this 2021 campaign for Toprak Razgatlioglu. They've all been in the last 4 rounds as well. This is Toprak's best ever run of consecutive front row starts, as I said, during the final minutes of that Super Pole session. He's come even better in the second half of the campaign, if anything.
Well, I'll tell you what, we just got a stat in from Michele Merlino, our statistician for World SBK. He says Toprak's 3 poles this year matches Yamaha's total from the last 10 years. So it shows just the progress that the team has made and that Yamaha has made with their package. Toprak's done a great job to improve on what had been one of his big weaknesses through the course of this season. He's been really impressive the second half of this year.
Love that one. Another little bit of Merlino magic. Toprak Razgatlioglu with that sensational sensational recent run in Super Poles, but it also tells you a lot about Toprak himself and the way that he's been able to respond at the Assen stage of the season. You would easily have written it off as a down in the dumps moment, but he's bounced back from that quite brilliantly. It's not all over just yet. Jonathan Rea might still have something to say about that. It's front row start number 96 for his extraordinary career. What's he going to have in store for us this afternoon?
Johnny, back on the front row here for the first race in Indonesia. How are you feeling going into that one?
Yeah, it's important to get a good start here. And you know, I put a really good lap together with my bike. We did, I think, the maximum we could. So to get a front row is important. Playing catch up a little bit this weekend after some issues in FP1, but I feel good. You know, I feel good for. I feel our tyre combination should work for the race, and looking forward to get stuck in and see what we can do.
Best of luck, Johnny.
Cheers.
Jonathan Rea looking forward to getting stuck in, and you fancy he's going to have to do so. The one thing that works in favour of Jonathan Rea is that his race starts are generally good. So starting directly alongside Toprak Razgatlioglu only loses a few metres to him. He'll hope to make those up in the run down to turn 1.
Yeah, and as Jonathan said there, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the tyre choices for the races this afternoon. If the track temperature goes up like it has been over the course this weekend, inside the 60 to 65 degree range, it's going to be a real challenge for a lot of riders out there. Will you be able to use the super soft tyre, or will you have to try and use the harder tyre? And that choice could well decide not just the race, but the World Championship.
Scott Redding then completing your top 3. But both Rea and Redding over 0.3 of a second down on Razgatlioglu for single lap pace. It's going to take something very special to unseat him from the race victory, frankly, let alone from the World Championship lead.
Yeah, you can only hope that we're going to have a battle at the front like we've had all the way through this season, bar-to-bar action. That can change the pace through the course of a race.
Front row start number 12 to round out his Super Pole performances for Ducati. Scott Redding.
Scott, a front row start for you for race 1. This morning, FP3, you set the benchmark. How are you feeling for going into the race?
Yeah, for the race, I feel pretty confident, actually. This morning, did another longish run, felt quite good. I've done a lot of laps with both tyres, so I know which is probably the better option for me. The qualifying was my own fault, really. I do think I had the pace to take pole today, but I made a mistake in turn 1. I was overriding because the rain was coming, and then I was just pushing, and I have the experience to know not to do it, but it hasn't happened for so long. It's my own fault, I know, so grateful to have the front row. It's very important here because it's quite difficult to overtake, so a good start is important, and it'll be interesting for the first race to see. You know, we haven't raced here, nobody's tested here, so the race will be the real deal.
Best of luck, Scott.
Thank you.
A typically honest assessment from don't think he can be too disappointed about that. Still lines up from the front row.
Tell you what, on the run down in towards turn 1 there as well, you could see just the leathers buffering around there for Scott Redding as well. And like he says, the race is going to be the real deal. And throughout the course this weekend so far, Toprak's been the real deal. But it can be very different when you get into a race situation. We have seen the 3 of these guys all the way through this season have some real battles. And you'd certainly expect to see more of the same during the course of this afternoon's running.
I can also feel the sort of Hollywood climax coming up every time anyone mentions, I'm worried about the rain, I'm worried about the sky, a few drops here, a few drops there. It's the one final ingredient that we're missing, and maybe we're building up for something that's not going to happen. But if it does rain, that could be Jonathan Rea's best chance to get on terms with Toprak Razgatlioglu. The doubt, the nerves might start to creep in. Am I just clutching at straws here?
I think we always expect riders to be nervous. Of course, Toprak's going to be thinking about the championship, but through the course of this season, you haven't seen anything that would make Toprak deviate from his normal strategy. This weekend, he's been aggressive on track all the way through. I think he's going to be the same in this afternoon's race.
If it rains, he's got to be nervous about the championship, hasn't he?
If it rains, it's a different story, but Toprak lives and dies by his reactions, and he's been so good all the way through this season. His confidence is so high, he's going to expect to win the championship this afternoon.
6 consecutive front row starts for Toprak Razgatlioglu, 3 poles in the last 4 rounds. And again, he beats the man who started pressing, gradually improving, made up a lot of time over the course of this weekend thus far. Superbike stars then return for their first ever race here in Lombok at 3 p.m. local time. That's 8 a.m. in Europe and 7 in the UK, all after this short break.